What's going on? Welcome Wednesday, March 8th, 1 p.m. Pacific, and live from the Twitch headquarters in San Francisco, California. This is Streaming on Streaming. What is going on? Happy Wednesday to you. As I said, the #1 award-winning worldwide phenomenon, Twitch live stream, Streaming on Streaming, coming to you live from the Twitch headquarters in San Francisco. I am in one of our broadcast booths here. This is a really nice little setup. We've got a microphone that I could not figure out how to get working with my MacBook. We've got a little Logitech webcam here, a nice lighting panel, a green screen behind me. And as you can see here, I've chroma keyed it out and used a little picture image of the lobby here of Twitch HQ. Very excited to be here. I am here in town this week for a long week of meetings with the IVS team. And we're just kind of doing a team on-site here. Really awesome to get to put a face to the name with some of your colleagues and just have some really productive meetings, learn about what everybody does here at on the IVS team. So it's been a good week so far. Very different for me to be broadcasting earlier on a Wednesday because it is West Coast. I guess it's the same time I always broadcast, but for me, where I am right now, it is 1 p.m. So I haven't had lunch yet, but that's all right. I'm joining all of you awesome people to talk about building live streaming applications in the cloud. And yeah, like I said, just meeting with some team members here, trying to get some show ideas for future episodes of Streaming on Streaming, get some guests lined up. Got some exciting, interesting, amazing folks that I've talked to this week that are excited to be future guests on the show and talk about what they do on the team, talk about future features that we're rolling out, things that we're building, and launches and things like that. So yeah, welcome. How is your week going? Thank you for joining me. As always, very, very, very much appreciated. Let's check the comments to see. Okay, we've got no comments yet, but as always, please, 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 feel free to post any questions in the chat. If you're interested in learning about Amazon Interactive Video Service, building live streaming applications, what would you like to see in future episodes? What did you like about past episodes? Blog posts that you want to see, tutorials, features that you want to learn more about. I am here for you to learn all about Amazon IVS. So I didn't introduce myself. I'm Todd Sharp. I'm the principal developer advocate for Amazon Interactive Video Service. We do this stream weekly, and we talk about building live streaming applications with Amazon Interactive Video Service. I feel like I've said that 7 times already, but that's okay. That is okay. The beauty of live streaming, unpredictable. Anything can happen, anything goes. No edits, no cuts, no fixing in post. We do it live every week, Wednesday. So what are we going to talk about today here on the show? I had thought about kind of doing an office hours type thing because I'm out of town. I've been kind of busy, not had a lot of time to prep, but I was up early Monday morning, 2 days ago, thanks to jet lag. Woke up at about 2:30 local time here on the West Coast, and I started working on a blog post that's going to be upcoming soon about a topic that I think is kind of cool, that kind of goes along with the theme of the past few streams that we've had here. And what is that topic? That topic is streaming Amazon IVS chat logs to OpenSearch. So 2 weeks ago, we talked about auto-recording Amazon IVS live streams to S3. So in other words, we have a live stream in our application. Our broadcasters come online, they do their live stream, and we can persist all of those live streams to S3. Why would we want to do that? Well, just like you see here on Twitch, a lot of times viewers can't view live. Sometimes they're in another time zone. Sometimes they're busy doing work. Sometimes, whatever the case may be, they can't always tune in live. But If you're a loyal viewer of a particular channel or of a particular show, such as Streaming on Streaming right here on the AWS Twitch channel, you do want to catch up with past episodes if you are unable to tune in at a certain point or a certain live stream. So you do want to catch up on those past streams. So recording to S3 gives you the ability to do just that in your applications. You could record streams to S3, catalog them, save them to save the meta information about those broadcasts to a database, and present them in an interface for viewing later on. That was 2 weeks ago. Last week, we talked about recording chat logs to CloudWatch. Amazon IBS Chat gives you the ability to log chat messages, chat events with an Amazon IBS chat room. You can log them to either S3, you can log them to a Firehose, Kinesis Data Firehose, or you can log them to CloudWatch. As we learned about last week, and if you want to catch up on any of those past episodes, I will show a little ticker here. You can check those out on YouTube. You can connect up with me on Twitter. And I also encourage you to check out dev.to/t/Amazon IBS for all blog posts and tutorials about Amazon IBS. So logging to CloudWatch. As we talked about last week, I find it to be a good way to log chat messages for an Amazon IBS chat room. You can then use the SDK to filter and retrieve those messages. And ultimately, the next step that I was going to do, and in fact, if you go to the dev.to blog, you will find a blog post about basically creating a chat video on demand replay sequence where the video on demand can be played back. And just like you see here on Twitch, if you were to go to watch a video on demand, the chat messages would be posted to that chat interface in the order that they were received at the time in the stream they were posted. So it's a nice way to kind of relive that entire experience. Yes, you may not be able to post live chat to that experience, but at least it kind of gives you that catch-up experience and lets you see those chat messages in real time, especially for chatters who broadcasters who interact with those chat messages. You can kind of see the context of that message when it was posted and hear the broadcaster react to that message, right? So logging them to CloudWatch gives you the ability to kind of pull those back. What it doesn't give you, to an extent, I think there are some filters you can apply, but it doesn't give you the ability to do like a real full text search of those chat logs. So let's say you wanted to go back and search your chat logs for a particular message based on a keyword. Let's say I know Josh posted a comment and he said, Streaming on Streaming is the greatest show that I've ever watched on Twitch. Todd, you are my hero. He didn't really say that, but let's say he did. And I wanted to search for that. And I said, I can't remember what Josh said. What was that comment? But I know he said hero. I could go then do a keyword search for hero and find that old message from Josh, for example, right? What else could you do? What about searching by a date range? Logging things to OpenSearch gives you the ability to search by a date range. It gives you the ability to search by specific attributes within a chat event. For example, user ID, username, any other attributes that we set when we create that chat token for our IBS chat room. Those become persistent parts of that chat message, chat event, and they become indexed in that OpenSearch cluster and allow you to do searches against them. So tons of reasons why OpenSearch would be a good destination for your chat logs. And the question now becomes, how do you do it? How can you get your chat logs from CloudWatch or from IBS Chat, for example, to OpenSearch? Well, obviously, they're already going to CloudWatch if you followed the tutorial that we did last week. So you have them in CloudWatch. How could you take them from there and get them into OpenSearch? And the answer is a really nice integration that you can do in CloudWatch to create what's called a subscription filter. And this subscription filter, we're going to walk through how to set it up, how to create an IAM role, and how to get everything into OpenSearch and then run some queries against it. So that's what we're going to do today. I've got a blog post printed out here next to me with good old-fashioned paper, and we're going to walk through the process and look at how it's done. So I don't see any comments in the chat. So before, I guess we can go ahead and get started. Why don't we go ahead and get started? I will share my screen. There's really, in this case, there's not really any code involved to do this. Now, you're probably wondering how it works, and we'll get to that in just a second, but we don't have to write any code for this. How could we write some code to create the subscription filter in CloudWatch via the SDK and automate that process? Actually, based on my research, I don't think that you can do it in a way that replicates the console experience through the SDK. The reason for that is that basically what happens when we do this is it's going to set up a Lambda function for us behind the scenes. And that Lambda function is going to have some code in it that actually handles processing the incoming CloudWatch logs and inserting them into OpenSearch. And we'll take a look at that and see how it works. But the SDK does not offer an option to do that for us. Now, could we write our own Lambda function? Could we deploy it and do it that way? Yes, we could do that. So I feel like the console presents a little better experience in this case. I haven't checked CDK. I haven't checked Terraform or any of the infrastructure as code options, but I do feel like the console in this case presents kind of the better experience for developers. So we're going to look at it. We're going to go through and set everything up. And to do that, I will share my screen. So there's this great doc. Happened to land on that page when I shared my screen. Let me bump the font up a bit. All right. So there's this great document that kind of walks you through the process. Stay tuned for my blog post that walks you through the actual integration based on our use case. That will be coming next Friday. What is today? The 8th. So next Friday is the 17th. So dev.to/t/Amazon IBS. Stay tuned for the blog that explains this, but we're going to walk through it here. So these docs, there'll be a link to that in the blog post. These docs will show you how to get this all done with your CloudWatch log group. First thing we're going to need to do before we get started is we're going to need an OpenSearch, what they call domain, or you may be familiar with the term cluster. And I don't have a ton of experience with OpenSearch myself. I have not worked with it a lot. I did some work, I think about a year or two ago with it. So I'm a little rusty on the whole concept, but essentially, I'm not going to get into the entire politics about why it's called OpenSearch today when it used to be called something else. That's another show, and it's not a show that I will probably be involved in, but it's called OpenSearch. It uses it's actually based, my history lesson. I should have polished up on my history lesson before this live stream, but it's based on Solar, I believe, or is it Lucene? I can't remember. It's an Apache project, but it's been around a long, long time. And in fact, I think it has to be around at least 15 plus years, I'm pretty sure. But it's a very powerful search. Oh boy. I don't want to say it's called a search engine because I think there's tricky wording around what it's called. Anyways, what does the console call it? Amazon OpenSearch service, search, visualize, and analyze up to petabytes of text and unstructured data. Harness the power of OpenSearch, operate OpenSearch with the leading contributor of the community-driven open source software, blah, 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 easily store and analyze data for comprehensive visibility into your system performance. Okay, this is just a bunch of marketing terms. We're gonna need an OpenSearch domain, cluster, whatever you wanna call it. So make sure that you have done that ahead of time. I've already done that. I have a few domains created. This one is Internet Accessible. The cluster health, don't let it fool you for why is it yellow? The health, why is the health yellow? The health is yellow because I've only created a single server cluster, and anytime you create a single server cluster, the health is going to be yellow. I don't feel the need to have like a 3-node cluster for a demo search domain, so I'm okay with that. So I've got this search domain set up, and actually if I launch Workspaces, Amazon Workspaces, if you're not familiar with that, check it out. It is a really kind of neat way to have basically remote machines that you can control, not control, but you can allow more secure access into your cloud VPCs with Amazon Workspaces. So I have this, and I've got off screen, I'm logging in here now just to get that signed in. So you have this Amazon Workspace, and what I've done is, it also has a static IP, so it gives you the ability to do nice things like lock down a search domain to a very specific IP, in this case, my workspace IP, and only allow access to that. So as I'm logging in here, starting the workspace, we will just, let me zoom out a tad bit. So this is my search domain. Really just your kind of basic setup. As I said, one node. I've got a small search engine instance. It's in 1AZ, one availability zone. Just a very basic box, but it gives me the ability to have this OpenSearch domain running. For some reason, my workspace is taking a while to log in, so we'll come back to that. So I've got my OpenSearch domain. The next thing we need to do is come over to our CloudWatch log group and find the log group that we created to store our Amazon IBS chat logs. And if you remember from last week's episode, we created this log group very specifically for our logging configuration for Amazon IBS chat. So if I search for chat, I can find my demo chat log CW group. This is my CloudWatch group, and I have several log streams within that. These log streams are all individual log streams related to Amazon IBS chat rooms, right? So each chat room gets their own log stream. In this case, this log stream is related to a room with this identifier. So if I, for example, come over to IBS, I come down to rooms, and I see my first room here, demo chat, has this identifier at the end, OWG, OP, etc. Come back over here to my log group. I can see that that log group, OWG, OP, etc., is the log group for that chat room. So the log group contains log streams. The log streams are related to a chat room. Got it. Excellent. So far, so good. Got this log group, this log stream that I'm looking at in particular. And if I load some older events, you can see that I've got some test events in here from today. So today is March 8th, and I've got just this various stream of different chat events. So in this case, I open this up. This is an event type message. The payload type is message. This is the message ID. The attributes, the username is in the attributes key. And then I have the message content. This is the actual text of the message, the send time, the sender. Really nice JSON object, contains all the information we need to know about this chat message, right? Okay, what else do we have in here? We scroll down and we look at this one. We have a type event. So as we've covered in the past, and you can also learn from our documentation, check out my blog posts, there are various events that get broadcast in an Amazon IBS chat room. We can actually broadcast our own custom events via the SDK, the API. If we wanted to, let's say, have an event that, actually one that I think I've actually published it. I did an example of using these custom events to autoplay a live stream. So anytime, so when you broadcast a live stream with Amazon IBS, you can hook into the stream events via EventBridge. So you have session started, stream started, you have recording started, various events that you could hook into with EventBridge. So I created an EventBridge rule that every time a stream would start, I could send a custom event to an Amazon IBS chat room. So everyone that's in the room waiting for the stream to start would receive this event that was broadcast, and I could autoplay that live stream instead of today, if you were to just have a live stream, people load the page. If you didn't implement any kind of polling or anything like that, the user would have to either click a button to try to play the stream again or refresh the page before the stream would start broadcasting, which is not a great user experience, right? And in fact, this would probably make a really good stream if I kind of talked through this process on how to autoplay a live stream with EventBridge events and chat messages. So point being, you can send custom events. Also, events are broadcasted when you have things like moderation actions taken, and that's the case that we have here. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see that. So this is an AWS delete message event. So we have set up moderation here. I have a user who has a auth token for this chat room that has the delete message and disconnect user capabilities assigned to that token. And when you do perform those actions, when you delete a message or disconnect a user, these events also get broadcast, and you can take actions on the interface based on those events, right? So you listen for this event. I've got a delete message event. I have the ID of the message that was deleted, and we're going to remove that from the UI. We're going to disconnect a user based on the ID. In fact, I think I have one example here. So if I scroll down here, so I have a disconnect user event, and you can pass a reason, you can pass the user ID, then on the front end in the UI, taking the appropriate actions based on that user ID that's being deleted. Okay, so I've got this log of JSON events, and I want to get these all into OpenSearch. So how do I do that? If I come back to the log group, a couple ways I can do this. I can click on Actions and go to Subscription Filters, or I can come over here to Subscription Filters and click Create. So let's do it that way. And as you see here, make sure that font looks good enough for you. As you can see here, we support up to 2 subscription filters per log group. So you can only have 2 subscription filters. So if I click Create, there are some options here. One is a Lambda subscription filter. So if we wanted to do a manual process, every time something gets posted to this log group, we can create a Lambda function. We can associate it with it via a subscription filter, take any action that we need to. If we wanted to, for example, log everything to a RDS database or a DynamoDB instance, or we wanted to send a SMS notification, I don't know, whatever you want to do, whatever you need to do, you could do that with a Lambda subscription filter. You can create a Kinesis Firehose subscription filter, create a Kinesis subscription filter, but the one we're after is the Create Amazon OpenSearch Service Subscription Filter. Wow, that is a tongue twister. Create Amazon OpenSearch Service Subscription Filter. You never realize how these things sound until you actually speak them. And I've been looking at this for days, and I'm like, doesn't seem odd, doesn't seem weird. Anyways, then I speak it and it sounds funny, especially when you're sitting in a room by yourself talking to the internet and a camera and you have no idea if anyone's even paying attention on the other side of the earth. Anyways, I want to show you what I meant earlier about not being able to do this via the SDK. So let's look at the client CloudWatch logs. So if we come to the client CloudWatch logs documentation in the AWS SDK for JavaScript v3, and we do a find and search for subscription filter. So the put subscription filter reference. If we look at here, the SDK says the following destinations are supported for subscription filters. So it shows you Kinesis data stream, a different account, which is a nice feature. If you wanted to, if you have a different account that you needed to send your logs to, you could do that. You have Kinesis data firehose, and then you have a Lambda function that belongs on the same account as the subscription filter for same account delivery. What you don't see here is the option for OpenSearch service. Now I want to try to find a little bit more information about why that is. But again, as I said, you can create your own Lambda function. You could even copy and you could create one via the console. You can copy paste the code and use it just the same if you wanted to do it that way and automate it via the SDK or the CDK or the CLI, however you wanted to create that. So as I said, the SDK just doesn't have an out-of-the-box solution because, like I said, what it's doing is creating a Lambda function behind the scenes. There's no out-of-the-box solution for creating that via the SDK. So back to the CloudWatch Management Console, we're going to create an OpenSearch service subscription filter. Choose the destination. We want to log it to this account. We're not going to send this to another account. So we will choose this account. Now we need to find the OpenSearch service cluster. And I'm going to choose demo search domain 0. What we get here now is a little message that says CloudWatch Logs uses Lambda to deliver log data to OpenSearch service. You already have a Lambda function associated with this, and this setup will reuse that to get your log data delivered to the cluster. So since I've already done this, and I've removed that filter just so I could recreate it here in the live stream, but it did not delete that Lambda function. So it says, hey, you've already got this set up. We're going to reuse that function, and it's all going to be good. I'm fine with that. No problem whatsoever. Then you get a little warning about streaming huge amounts of data to other destinations that might result in high usage charges. Budgets are always a good thing. Good way to keep an eye on your billing and your cost management, or keep an eye on your billing and keep an eye on your budget in the billing and cost management console. Cool. But yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we are talking about potentially large amounts of data being sent through a Lambda function into OpenSearch. So, you know, would I recommend this for every single chat room? Maybe not, but if it's in your budget, if it's in your requirements and you have to do it, then this is a good way to do it. All right, scrolling down, we have a configure log format and filters section. So the first option here is the log format. Now, since we could set this up for a CloudWatch log of any format, we could be looking at a server log or an access log or an error log. There's various different formats that you could log to CloudWatch. But in our case, well, for example here, you can do VPC flow logs, you could do CloudTrail, Lambda, common log format. The one we're after, though, is JSON. Since all of our log entries in the log streams of our log group are in JSON format, we're going to say JSON is our log format. So we need to create a subscription filter name. We'll name that demo filter. And then I'm going to ignore the subscription filter pattern for just a second. And I'm going to scroll down here to this select log data to test dropdown. And I'm going to pick one of those log streams that are in my log stream group. And I'm only getting one event here as a test event. So you know what I'm going to do, because I think it's probably only looking at a very recent time period. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post some test chat messages to this channel just to kind of build up a little bit of log history. So I will say I am in San Francisco. The weather is nice. It is sunny and 50 degrees. Do a little emoji just to vary it up. We'll also say I like cats, and we'll also open up in a new tab a moderation, and I will say hello Todd from the admin. And then Todd is going to say something offensive. And then the moderator is going to delete Todd's message. And as we can see, that message is now gone in the UI. And then Todd is going to say, why did you delete my... This is some entertaining live streaming, is it not? Watching me talk to myself in the Amazon IBS chat room. It's just, this is why this is an award-winning live stream. I'm telling you, the quality, the content does not get any better than this. I'm telling you. Anyways, disconnect the user. So if we want, we can do a disconnection. We will say because something offensive. So Todd was deleted, gets a message, says, you were mean and bad, and we have disconnected you. So we'll say what, and post that. As you can see, the message did not get posted because my UI has taken the appropriate action and disconnected that chat client. Todd can no longer post messages. So the point here is just to build up a little bit of a log, some back and forth text messages at various times, and some events that can also be filtered as well. So we come back here. Hopefully I won't have to reload this entire page. We select that chat log again. There, excellent. We have a bunch of test messages here in the interface. So these are my recent messages to this log stream. And as you can see, in fact, let me copy one out and let's actually post that here in DevTools, just so you can see again that the format is what we expect it to be. So we have that payload, it has attributes, it has the actual message content, the ID, the send time, the sender, so on and so forth. So what if we wanted to actually filter this log data and only subscribe to certain things? So maybe we wanted to filter on just messages. Maybe we don't want events. If we wanted to do that, we could use this filter syntax. So we wrap it in the curly braces, and it's kind of like, I'm not sure this is the right word for it, but it's very similar to like if you were to do some filtering of JSON data with JQ, the program, the command line program that you could use for formatting and filtering JSON data. So it's $ dot, and then we can say type equals message. So I believe this should work. But if I test that pattern, yes, excellent. So we get 11 matches out of 13 events in the sample log. And if we scroll down here, it will show us the results of that filter. We can see that it's only finding type equals message. If we wanted to flip that around, we could say type equals event and test that pattern. And that results in 2 messages, the delete message and the disconnect message. So we have delete message and disconnect user. So if you wanted to filter these messages out before they even got to OpenSearch, this is a nice way to do that. And this is a way to kind of, maybe you only want to log messages, chat messages, and not events. Maybe you want to log, actually you could log just a given chat room if you wanted to. Can you or can you not? Maybe you can't. I don't think that you can actually do that because it's not part of the message payload. Let me paste that again here and take a look. I don't think you could limit it to a certain chat room, but the workaround there off the top of my head would be to create a different login configuration for a different room and limit it that way. So you could associate the filter with a log group that's only specific to a certain room or group of rooms. Let's say you wanted to filter, what if we filter on payload dot attributes dot username, and we only wanted to see Todd's messages. So if we can test that pattern, you could see one message posted by Todd. Actually, I think I did that wrong, but that's okay. You get the idea. Essentially, it gives you the ability to limit what is going to be indexed over to OpenSearch. So once we're ready, we click Start Streaming. And this is going to create the filter. If necessary, create that Lambda function behind the scenes and all that fun stuff. Actually, oh no, I actually left that filter on. Let me delete that quickly. I didn't mean to leave that filter on. We'll delete that. We'll very quickly recreate this, and we'll say demo search domain 0, the JSON format, demo filter, and start streaming. Okay. So that's going to create perfect, no filter pattern. So in other words, every message is going to be sent to OpenSearch. So if we want to take a look at, what I'm going to need to do is copy this ARN. So let me copy that. But if we want to take a look at the Lambda function that was created behind the scenes, we can come over to Lambda and we can search for OpenSearch. Well, in this case, it's still using the old name of Elasticsearch. But if we search for that, we can see that this Lambda function was created or modified a minute ago. And if we click into that, we can see the function's source code. So we have this function. There's a variable that allows you to debug if you're having issues with this. And I found this came in handy for me. But if you're having issues with this, you can set this to true. You also will have to modify your IAM role that we're about to take a look at to make sure that it has access to Lambda, so that to Lambda, right? Yes, to Lambda. So yes, the IAM role needs access to Lambda so that it can log those failures to CloudWatch itself, coincidentally. So it's going to handle all of that posting to OpenSearch for us. It's going to post the document to his Amazon Elasticsearch service. So this is the code behind the scenes in the Lambda function that gets created when we create our subscription filter. Next thing we need to do is create an IAM role. And I'm going to show you that IAM role. I've already created it. But if we come over to IAM, we click on roles and we say chat. You can see that I have a chat log OpenSearch role. So you have to create this IAM role and give it access to Amazon OpenSearch service. So if I open up this policy, you can see that it needs access to basically all of Elasticsearch. And you could limit this by resources, keep it only to that specific CloudWatch log group. But essentially, you just need to make sure that you have this created. this Lambda basic execution role is the permission that is necessary to write to CloudWatch logs. So in other words, what I was just talking about, to log any failures from Lambda. And I'm looking through my notes here to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Checking. Okay. You do need to establish a trust relationship. So here, you need to make sure that this has access to lambda.amazonaws.com. And that is, I believe, all we need to do for that IAM role. So we have our subscription filter created. We have our IAM role created. Now, at this point, everything should be going over to OpenSearch. There is one more step that we have to take here. And if I log into my workspace, I can show you that. So as I had set up fine-grained access controls on my OpenSearch instance, I needed to make sure that I added a backend role here in the OpenSearch console. So this is my workspace. I'm logging into my OpenSearch domain. And if I come over here to the menu and I click on security, what we need to do here is come to roles and find the all access role. So if I click on all access role, then over to mapped users, a little tricky, but again, this will all be in the blog post to make sure that you kind of got the steps down. But we need to have a mapping called backend role, and the user is going to be the ARN of that IAM role that we created just a second ago. So this step is crucial. If you don't have this and you have fine-grained access control configured on your OpenSearch cluster domain, you're not going to get any messages posted to your OpenSearch cluster. You're going to be very confused and wondering what's going on. Why are my CloudWatch logs not getting into OpenSearch? So we've got everything set up. Now, what can we do with this data? So if we come over here to interact with the OpenSearch API, we can actually start running some queries and finding some various CloudWatch, some various chat log messages. So we can run a query to list all the indices. Now, all of your CloudWatch logs are going to be, each day, you're going to have a new index created for your CloudWatch logs. So it's going to follow the format CWL for CloudWatch logs, dash year dot date year dot month dot date. So each day is going to have a new index over here in OpenSearch. So keep that in mind. Just make sure you're aware that that will be the naming convention that's used for every index. So if we want to search on a specific index, let's search on today's index. We can make a post to /indexname/_search. And if we just pass that with no parameters, no body, what we'll get back is a list of all of the results. So look over here on the right-hand side of the screen. Let me bump that font up a bit. So we have some general meta information about the query itself. It took 273 milliseconds. It did not time out. Here are the shards. A little sensitive scrolling here. And we have 21 total hits for our query, which was nothing. In other words, we have 21 total messages indexed today. The max score was 1, and then an array of hits. So these are the various CloudWatch log entries that were indexed into CloudWatch. Now, the nice thing about this, the really nice thing about this, is because those CloudWatch log entries were JSON, OpenSearch indexed this object as JSON. So as you can see here, we actually have a JSON object. In other words, all of those properties that were in that CloudWatch JSON log event, log message, are available in our CloudWatch, our OpenSearch search results. So we have our payload, our type, and that means we could do things like query by specific properties of those log entries in OpenSearch. So the first query we can run, and I'll show that in just a second, querying by a specific property. But the first thing we can do here is query just with a general wildcard search. So if I search for SF, because I believe I posted a message that said I was in SF, and I run that query, nothing. What did I say? I believe I mentioned weather, did I not? A query with the keyword of weather. There we go. So I have some hits for the keyword of weather. I have a message that was sent by admin, and admin said, oh, you know what I did wrong? I did not change the date here. So let's change that to today. Let's search for SF again. So if I search for SF, oh, still none. So if I search for weather based on today, still none. Okay, I think what happens is, I'm not sure that did I create the subscription filter after I posted those chat messages? Anyways, we'll use yesterday's or a couple days ago's index and query against that. So if we search for weather, we see that we get a result posted by admin saying the weather is cold. It was sent on March 3rd at 4:01 p.m. And we have all of our sender information, in other words, our user ID. And if I copy, actually, we'll make it easier. Instead of that, we'll use the username. So I have the ability to search by keyword, fuzzy type search for my chat logs. So if we scroll down to the next one, we can see here, because we have that JSON object, we can search by specific properties within that JSON object. So in this case, I have a search that searches for a message posted by a specific username, which is really cool, right? I mean, what if you wanted to search by your chat logs for messages posted by a specific user? That's a very valid and very common, I would say, use case. You want to search for messages by a specific user, posted by a specific user. This helps, as we talked about last time, maybe you've disconnected or banned a user temporarily because of something they said. Maybe you wanted to go back after the fact, review the chat messages posted by that user, and see if there was some missing context. See if there was maybe you overreacted when you banned that user or disconnected that user. Maybe you didn't react enough. Maybe it needs to be a permanent ban because it's much worse than you actually thought it was. It just gives you so much flexibility, so much ability to search your chat logs for past messages based on specific attributes. So if I run this query and I see all the chats posted by Todd, I can see over here on the right-hand side, I've got Todd joined the chat. Scroll down a little bit, I've got Todd posted the message, hi, how are you today? So all of these messages are messages sent by Todd, the specific username. Because usernames can change, perhaps usernames, maybe we want to search by user ID instead. Maybe that's a more valid filter criteria. But in this case, just shows you the possibility here. Here is where we can actually query by specific log streams or specific chat logs for a specific room. So if I did that search for Todd and I didn't filter based on the specific chat room, it would return me all of the results from all of the chat rooms where somebody's username was Todd. Maybe that's what we want because we want to know what every Todd in the world is saying in all of our chat rooms, but it's probably not what you want. So you might want to match that up with a specific query on the given log stream. So to do that, we can match it on this @logstream property and just limit it to specific chat rooms or chat logs. Scrolling down here, we can also search by ranges of time. So on the 3.6 log, if we wanted to search a or messages that are between a specific time period, we could say now minus 10 hours, and then greater than or equal to now minus 10 hours, and less than now. So any message posted between, I guess that would be like, it's 2 p.m. almost. So anyways, do the math. 10 hours before 2 p.m. on the 6th. If I run that query, I've got no hits there. Let's see here. We'll say now greater than or equal to now minus 12 hours. Say less than now plus 12 hours. So this should return everything from that day, and it does not. I think because the problem is we're looking a few days back, right? So what if we do now minus 72 hours? Yeah, now we got some results, right? Because it's doing that dynamic math based on the current date timestamp. But you can search by the timestamp and look at times, search results between a specific time, start and end time, or whatever specific criteria or query that you need to construct with your OpenSearch queries. The potential is there. The ability is there. You can search by type of message. You can search by keywords, usernames, whatever you need to do. It's all possible with this logging your chat logs from CloudWatch to OpenSearch. So 9 minutes left. I appreciate y'all joining. We've got 39 people here. So any questions in the chat, I would love to answer. What are we going to talk about next week? I'm not 100% sure what we're going to talk about next week yet. Today is the 8th. Next week is the 15th. I think what we might do, we might go to that stream where we talked about reconstructing that video on demand experience with the chat logs and kind of recreating that whole experience with a video on demand. So if you're interested in that, tune in next week. And yeah, that is pretty much all I had for today. I want to thank you all for joining. Appreciate you all every time, as always. And we'll end today's stream a little bit early, but we will see you next week, 3:15. I will be back in Georgia. I will be back in San Francisco, actually, in 2 weeks for GDC. And if you have not yet, I'll just throw a quick plug out there. If you have not yet RSVP'd for the, I'm going to look up a link here. All right, let me copy that. And I'll paste it in chat. So the SF Game Development Meetup is hosting a after party at DNA Lounge here in San Francisco. I will be speaking there with a number of other folks from Dolby, PubNub, Unity, Postman, Sentry. It's going to be at, as I said, DNA Lounge, March 21st, Tuesday, March 21st, 7 p.m. to midnight. It's going to be a blast. If you've not RSVP'd yet, click on that link that I've just posted in chat and join us. It's going to be a blast. Come learn about some really cool technology, learn more about IBS and how you could use IBS with your browser-based games to create a live streaming experience directly within the application. So yeah, short plug for the GDC 2023 after party at DNA Lounge. And that's it. I will see y'all next week, March 15th, again, right here, twitch.tv/AWS, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for joining, and I will see you next week.